My name is Khalid Al-Dusari. I am 42 years old. The day my life truly began to change was March 18, 2023. That was the day a quiet question started growing inside my heart, a question that would slowly shake everything I believed about my life, my faith, and my future. From the outside, my life looked like a dream. I was known as one of the wealthiest businessmen in Saudi Arabia. My companies owned hotels, construction firms, and shipping businesses. I traveled often in private jets, stayed in the best hotels, and sat at tables where powerful men made important decisions about money and business. People looked at my life and believed I had everything. But the truth was more complicated. I was born into a respected Muslim family in the city of Riyadh. My father was a successful trader who built his reputation through discipline and strong connections with wealthy families. My mother was known in our community as a woman who cared deeply about family honor and tradition. From childhood, I was taught to respect religion, family reputation, and success. My father believed education was the key to influence and wealth. Because of that, he sent me to one of the best private schools in Riyadh. I studied business, economics, and international trade. Later, I continued my education in London, where I attended a well-known university to study business management. Living in another country opened my eyes to many different cultures and ideas. I saw how people from different religions lived, worked, and believed in their own ways. At the time, I did not question my own beliefs very deeply. My focus was building a future that would make my family proud. After finishing my studies, I returned to Saudi Arabia. My father slowly introduced me to the family business. At first, I handled small responsibilities. I helped with trade agreements, shipping logistics, and financial planning. Over the years, my role grew larger. Eventually, I became the head of several companies connected to construction, oil services, and international investments. Money came quickly. Success followed. By the time I turned 40, my name was often mentioned among wealthy businessmen in the region. Government officials attended some of my events. Foreign investors requested meetings with me. Business magazines sometimes mentioned my companies when they talked about economic growth in the Middle East. My lifestyle reflected that success. I lived in a large villa surrounded by high walls and security guards. Inside my home were expensive carpets, marble floors, and artwork brought from Europe. My garage held several luxury cars that many people only see in magazines. Travel was part of my routine. Some weeks I would wake up in Riyadh, attend meetings in Dubai by afternoon, and fly to London the next day for business negotiations. Private planes, luxury hotels, and exclusive meetings became normal parts of my life. People around me admired this lifestyle. Employees respected me. Business partners praised my discipline and intelligence. Even relatives in my extended family spoke about me with pride because my success brought honor to our name. But something inside me began to feel different. At night, after the meetings ended and the house became quiet, I sometimes sat alone in my office. The room was large, filled with shelves of books and awards that celebrated my achievements. Yet the silence in that room often felt heavy. I began noticing a strange emptiness that I could not explain. It was not about money because I had more than enough. It was not about reputation because many people respected me. It was not about family because my relatives were proud of my success. Still, something felt missing. I tried to ignore that feeling. I filled my schedule with more business deals, more investments, and more travel. My assistants arranged meetings from early morning until late evening. The busier I became, the easier it was to avoid thinking about the quiet questions forming inside my mind. But those questions did not disappear.
Sometimes during long flights, while looking out the window at the endless sky, I began thinking about life in a deeper way. I started wondering about purpose, about truth, and about the meaning of faith beyond tradition. Those thoughts made me uncomfortable. In my country, religion is deeply connected to identity and family honor. Questioning certain things can create tension, misunderstanding, and even danger. Because of this, most people simply follow the path that was given to them from childhood. That was the path I had followed for most of my life. Until something unexpected happened. One evening in early 2023, during a business trip in Dubai, I met someone who would unknowingly start a chain of events that changed everything for me. At the time, I believed it was just a normal business meeting. I had no idea that this simple encounter would slowly lead me into a journey filled with confusion, fear, discovery, and eventually a decision that would bring serious consequences into my life. Consequences that would later include rejection, threats, and the risk of losing everything I had built. But at that moment, I knew none of that. All I knew was that a quiet question had begun growing in my heart, and that question refused to disappear.
It happened during one of my business trips to Dubai. That evening, I was sitting inside a quiet restaurant in a tall glass building. From the window, I could see the bright city lights, expensive cars moving slowly on the road, and people walking confidently in their beautiful clothes. My table was covered with documents, contracts, and financial reports. Across from me sat a business consultant who had come to discuss a large investment project. He was calm, respectful, and very thoughtful. As we discussed business matters, I noticed something different about him. His attitude was peaceful. Even when the conversation became serious, he remained gentle and patient. At one point, our discussion moved away from business for a moment. He began speaking about faith and life purpose. He did not speak loudly or force his ideas. Instead, he simply shared his personal experience. He told me that his life had changed when he began learning about Jesus and the message of love and forgiveness. I listened quietly. In my country, conversations like this are rare and sensitive. Most people avoid them completely. But something about the calm way he spoke made me curious instead of angry. He explained that his faith was not just about tradition. He showed me that it was about a personal relationship with God and understanding love, mercy, and forgiveness in a deeper way. His words stayed in my mind. Later that night, after the meeting ended, I returned to my hotel room. The room was large and beautiful, filled with soft lights and expensive furniture. From the window, I could see the tall buildings of Dubai shining against the dark sky. But instead of feeling relaxed, my mind kept returning to that conversation. I sat on the edge of the bed, thinking. I had grown up learning many religious traditions. I respected them deeply because they were part of my family and my culture. But that night, I realized something surprising. I had never truly asked questions for myself. The more I thought about it, the more curious I became. A few days later, during another meeting with the same consultant, I carefully asked him more questions. I spoke in a quiet voice because people around us could hear. He noticed my interest and spoke carefully as well. He told me about the life of Jesus, about kindness toward enemies, and about forgiveness, even for those who cause harm. Then he showed me something unexpected. From his bag, he carefully brought out a small book. It was a Bible. He explained that it contained the teachings about Jesus and the message of salvation. He did not pressure me to accept anything. Instead, he gently explained that if I truly wanted to understand,
I could read it myself and think deeply about it. Before we left, he carefully allowed me to keep the small book. He reminded me to be careful because reading it openly in my country could create serious problems. That warning stayed with me. When I returned to Riyadh, I hid the book inside a locked drawer in my private office. During the day, I continued my normal life. Meetings, investments, and business negotiations continued exactly as before. But late at night, when everyone in the house was asleep, I quietly opened the drawer. I would sit at my desk, turn on a small lamp, and slowly read the pages. The words I read surprised me. They spoke of love, humility, and sacrifice in ways that touched my heart. I began feeling emotions that were new and difficult to explain. At first, I believed this was simply curiosity, but slowly that curiosity began to grow into something deeper. I started thinking about these teachings during the day. Sometimes, in the middle of an important meeting, my mind would quietly return to something I had read the night before. This secret reading continued for weeks. Then, something happened that filled me with fear. One afternoon, while I was at home, my younger cousin entered my office unexpectedly. He came to discuss a family matter. As we spoke, his eyes slowly moved around the room. Then his attention stopped on my desk. The drawer was slightly open. Inside that drawer was the book I had been hiding. His face changed immediately. He did not say much at first, but I could see the confusion and suspicion in his eyes. Before leaving, he told me he was concerned about what he had seen. That moment was the beginning of serious trouble. Within days, whispers began spreading inside my extended family. Relatives began asking strange questions about my beliefs. Some spoke with anger, others spoke with fear. The peaceful curiosity I once felt was slowly being replaced by pressure, and soon that pressure would grow into something far more painful than I ever expected.
After my cousin noticed the book in my office, the atmosphere in my family slowly changed. At first, the change was small. Some relatives began watching me carefully during family gatherings. Conversations became shorter and colder. I could see suspicion in their faces, even when they tried to hide it. A few days later, my older brother came to visit me at my house. He sat with me in the living room. His face looked serious and worried. He revealed to me that some family members had already started discussing my behavior. He explained that they believed I was becoming interested in beliefs that could bring shame to the family. His words made my chest feel heavy. I tried to remain calm, but inside, my heart was growing fear. I understood how sensitive this situation could become. That night, I went back to my office and opened the drawer again. My hands felt slightly weak as I held the small Bible. I sat quietly at my desk and continued reading under the dim light of the lamp. The more I read, the more I felt something changing inside me. The teachings about forgiveness, mercy, and sacrifice touched my heart deeply. It felt as if a quiet light was slowly entering places in my heart that had been empty for many years. But while peace was growing inside me, pressure was growing outside. Soon the whispers in my family became stronger. My father called me to visit him at his home. When I arrived, several older relatives were already sitting in the room. Their faces were serious. My father spoke with a heavy voice. He explained that people had informed him about my strange interest in foreign religious teachings. He warned me that such behavior could damage our family's honor and reputation. I tried to explain carefully that I was only reading and trying to understand, but my explanation did not calm them. Some relatives became angry. Others looked deeply disappointed. I could see pain in my father's eyes,
which hurt me more than the harsh words. After that meeting, the pressure around me became stronger. Some family members stopped speaking to me completely. A few business partners began distancing themselves quietly. The warm respect that once surrounded my life slowly turned into cold silence and suspicion. But the hardest moment came one evening when two distant relatives came to my house unexpectedly. Their expressions were not friendly. They revealed to me that if the rumors about my beliefs continued to spread, serious consequences could follow. They warned me that people in powerful positions might begin to investigate my activities. When they left, the house felt very quiet. I sat alone in my office again, holding the same small book in my hands. For the first time, I realized something painful. The path I had started walking might cost me my reputation, my family relationships, and possibly even my safety. Yet deep inside my heart, I also felt something else growing.
A few days later, my father asked me to visit him again. When I arrived at his house, the environment felt heavy and serious. Several older family members were already seated in the room. Their faces looked stern and disappointed. My father spoke slowly and firmly. He explained that the rumors about me reading Christian teachings had spread beyond our family. He revealed to me that some respected leaders in our community had already heard about it. My father told me that this situation was bringing shame and embarrassment to our family name. As I sat there listening, I felt the pressure closing around me like a tight wall. One uncle leaned forward and spoke in a very serious tone. He revealed to me that if I continued this path, I could lose my business partnerships and possibly face investigation from authorities. Another relative explained that people in our society take religious loyalty very seriously. Their message was clear. They expected me to stop everything immediately. When I returned home that evening, my house felt strangely quiet. The same large villa that once felt like a symbol of success now felt empty and cold. I walked slowly to my office and sat down at my desk. Inside the drawer was the small Bible I had been reading secretly. I held it in my hands for a long time. My heart was beating fast because I knew that keeping it could bring serious consequences. Yet every time I remembered the message of love, forgiveness, and hope that I had been reading, something inside me felt peaceful. That peace gave me courage. But the persecution soon became stronger. Within weeks, some of my business partners began canceling meetings with me. A few investors quietly withdrew from projects connected to my companies. I later discovered that certain people had warned them to stay away from me. The isolation was painful, but the hardest pain came from my own family. Some relatives stopped visiting my home completely. Others refused to answer my calls. Even during family gatherings, I could feel the cold distance in their behavior. Then, one night, something frightening happened. While I was returning home from a late business meeting, two vehicles suddenly followed my car on a quiet road. The drivers forced my car to stop. Several men stepped out and approached me with angry expressions. One of them spoke harshly and revealed that they had been hearing disturbing rumors about my spiritual interests. He warned me that if I continued this path, serious consequences could follow. His tone was not friendly. The message was meant to scare me. When they finally left, my hands were shaking as I sat inside my car. For the first time, I realized that this situation was no longer just about family arguments. My safety could also be at risk. That night, I sat alone in my bedroom, thinking deeply about everything that had happened. I had spent years building wealth,
influence, and respect. Yet now I was facing rejection, threats, and loneliness because of a truth I had discovered in my heart. Tears slowly filled my eyes. But in the middle of that painful moment, I remembered the message I had been reading about Jesus, about love, forgiveness, and standing firm even when facing suffering. Instead of fear, a quiet strength filled my heart. For the first time in my life, I knelt beside my bed. In that quiet room, I made the decision to follow the truth I had discovered, even if it cost me everything. The persecution did not end quickly. Life became more difficult for a long time. My business empire weakened. Some relationships were broken. My reputation in certain circles was damaged. But deep inside my heart, I found something far more valuable than wealth. I found peace. My dear brothers and sisters around the world, stories like mine remind us that many people today face persecution because of their faith. Some lose their families, some lose their jobs, others face threats and rejection simply for choosing what they believe is the truth. Please remember them in your prayers. Pray for those who are suffering quietly in different nations. Pray that they will receive strength, protection, and courage to continue standing for their faith.